Kosovo and Serbia sign a historic deal under Trump's auspices. This is coming from Balkan Inside. Let's see what's going on in the world of news. And as always, I am actually reading this article for the first time. I am going to be doing this without any edits. So let's get into this news together then and see what's going on between Kosovo and Serbia and the historic agreement signed in the White House. From Balkan Insight, Serbian and Kosovo leaders signed a landmark agreement on mainly economic issues on Friday at the White House on Friday, which President Trump called a historic move forward in relations. I mean, I do know about this news story a bit, and I know that they did sign agreements that were focused on economic policies. And from what I understand, we'll get into the story, but from what I understand, the agreements were actually kind of signed between Serbia and the U.S., Kosovo and the U.S., and then the U.S. kind of links those two countries together. So they don't recognize each other diplomatically as of yet. They did recognize the capital of Israel now being changed to Jerusalem. We'll get into that as well in this story. Let's see if it talks about it in this story, which is kind of an odd twist, but there in the photo you can see Jared Kushner kind of looming in the background there. So, all right, well, let's see what Balkan Insight has to say. Kosovo and Serbia signed an agreement on economic, energy, and political issues at a ceremony observed by Donald Trump in Washington on Friday. President Trump claimed that Serbia and Kosovo had now committed to an economic normalization, calling the agreement historic and a major breakthrough after years of failed negotiations. The agreement was signed after 2 days of meetings between delegations from Kosovo and Serbia in the U.S. Capitol, hosted by U.S. Special Envoy Richard Grenell and Trump's National Security Advisor, Richard O'Brien. So O'Brien is the guy that took over after Bolton. After the disastrous John Bolton. O'Brien's also kind of a neocon, but maybe like a lower tier neocon. Richard Grenell, well, you know, he's the one that actually declassified a bunch of documents in the Russiagate hoax about a couple of months ago. He was the U.S. ambassador to Germany. Let's get back into the article. Although all participants agreed the deal was mainly economic, it does contain some political points. We will only have good agreements, Kosovo Prime Minister Abdullah Hati said without further information minutes before the signing ceremony. Both sides agreed to continue work on earlier agreements on restoring air and rail links signed at the start of the year and to start building new connecting roads and highways. They also agreed to work with the U.S. on a feasibility study for the purpose of sharing the disputed Gazavod Ujmani Lake as a reliable water and energy supply. Adriatic Kelmani's tweet, exclusive to the White House agreement. Okay, so that's a tweet. So look, this agreement kind of is Trump's wheelhouse, I think. Obviously, it's focusing on infrastructure. It's focusing on construction, on railways, on roads. There's no doubt that this is something that Trump probably has quite a bit of expertise negotiating. And even though it's not a direct agreement between Serbia and Kosovo, the U.S. is kind of being a conduit here, a go-between. You know, the argument holds true. It is a start towards maybe diplomatic normalization. But I mean, will the Serbian people ever agree to that? Will the people in Kosovo right now ever agree to that? That remains to be seen. But all right, let's see what else is going on here. Importantly, Serbia pledged to stop its campaign to get countries to de-recognize Kosovo for 1 year, while Kosovo also promised to stop applying for membership of international organizations, also for a year. Both Kosovo and Serbia agreed to work more on issues of missing persons, refugees, and internally displaced persons from the 1990s Kosovo War. On other foreign policy issues, in deference to U.S. interests. Both parties agreed to designate the Islamic group Hezbollah in its entirety as a terrorist organization and prohibit the use of 5G equipment supplied by untrusted vendors in their communications network, presumably referencing China. Now that's interesting. Vučić, the president of Serbia, he's kind of got a reputation, an infamous reputation for playing both sides of the fence. He plays the side of Russia, and then he plays the side of EU, the US and NATO. And in this case, it looks like he's agreed to ban Chinese tech infrastructure, 5G equipment supplied by untrusted vendors in their communication network. Now, China's supported Serbia a lot, as has Russia. I mean, where Russia goes, China goes. Where China goes, Russia goes. It's kind of been, the pattern of things the last 4 or 5 years. But China has backed Serbia in the United Nations and in international organizations in not allowing Kosovo to gain international recognition. So I don't think China is going to be too pleased with this decision by Vučić. I wonder what the U.S. gave Serbia here in this deal, because this has nothing to do with the Balkan region per se directly. Designating Islamic group Hezbollah in its entirety as a terrorist organization. Okay, that appeases Israel. Okay, I get it. All right. Anyway, on educational matters, the two countries agreed to accept each other's higher education diplomas, among other things. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić thanked the U.S. officials for engaging in what few people want to do, calling the deal a step forward. We did not solve our problems, but this agreement is an exceptional step forward, Vučić said at the signing ceremony. President Trump also signed 2 separate documents with Kosovo and Serbia to ensure U.S. investment as a stimulus for more economic cooperation between Belgrade and Pristina. That may be the golden line right there. U.S. investment money. Money. Former Kosovo Prime Minister Ramush Haradinaj, whose party is part of the ruling coalition in Kosovo, said earlier on Friday that his party would not support the agreement if it contained a deal about use of Gazavod Ujman Lake. Unfortunately, one of the points of the draft agreement talks about Ujman has made the situation difficult. We do not appreciate Serbia being a party to the future of Ujman. The implications this can bring in the future may be expensive for Kosovo, Haradinaj wrote on Facebook. Earlier, though, all the participants previously said the talks had focused mainly on economic issues. Serbia's finance minister, a member of the Serbian delegation, claimed the first draft of the document had contained a point of mutual diplomatic recognition. They did not recognize each other. Now, if the agreement had a point of diplomatic recognition, well, that was probably taken out. Vučić would not be very popular if he went back to Serbia and recognized Kosovo. That's for sure. Kosovo just has too much significance in Serbian history for that to happen. Vučić assured the Serbian media on Thursday he would reject any agreement obliging Serbia to recognize independence of its former province, which Belgrade still claims as its territory. Historically, yes. Historically, it is Serbian territory. Some experts warned Bern that any deal focused only on economic issues without reference to political disputes might not work, as all the Kosovo-Serbia issues are widely seen as stemming from their political conflict. After the day of talks, U.S. envoy Grinnell said there had been some surprises at the talks, but that neither side was that surprised, and surprises can be beneficial. Surprises are good. They pressed the sides to do more. We had some surprises, but I don't think either side was that surprised. They like to pretend before the media that they are more surprised than they actually are, Grinnell told Newsmax Adria TV. Let's see. A war from 1998 to 1999 ended with the NATO bombing of Yugoslav positions, forced Serbia to withdraw its police and armed forces from Kosovo. Until then, its southern province, de facto semi-independent. From then on, Kosovo declared independence from Serbia in 2008. Most Western countries, including the U.S., recognized it immediately. However, Russia, China, and 5 EU countries have not recognized it, preventing it from joining the UN. Negotiations between Kosovo and Serbia have lasted more than a decade, taking place in different formats, on different levels, and with different outcomes. Additional speed and force was given to the talks when President Trump appointed Grenell as his envoy to the dialogue in October 2019. The first major outcome of this deal was on restoring commercial flights between Belgrade and Pristina in January 2020, followed in February by an agreement to resume all rail service. Grenell said in June that the U.S. and EU had now divided their tasks and roles in the Serbia-Kosovo dialogue, leaving the U.S. to focus on the economy and the EU to focus on the political aspects of the dialogue. EU's useless. EU's not going to do anything. They're useless. War crime charges filed against Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi by The Hague, past Special Prosecutor's Office, have since changed the trajectory, with the EU now being the main facilitator. The next meeting in the EU-led Kosovo-Serbia talks is planned for Monday. The signing of an agreement is, meanwhile, only a first step on the road to reconciliation, as any agreement must then be enforced and implemented. All right, Vučić has also kind of done some fence-sitting as to whether Serbia is going to join the EU or should become a full member of the EU, and whether it should not and maybe look more east towards Russia and China. And the EU would like nothing better than to swallow up Serbia. And with the EU comes NATO. And that would be tragic to see Serbia join NATO. I don't think it ever will happen, but it's a strange times we live in. So, we have to keep an eye on that. All right, so there you have it from Balkan Insight, the deal between Serbia and Kosovo at the Trump White House. All right, guys, if you like this video, do me a favor and subscribe. Also, hit that like, drop me a comment down below. Make sure to check out our main channel at The Duran on YouTube. The Duran channel is also on Library and BitChute, by the way. Also, go to the Duran shop. We have some magic mugs. Right here, here's my mug from the US, the USA, and we've got all kinds of great shirts and merchandise. All there on the Duran shop. When you make a purchase on the shop, you really help out this channel a lot. This channel, which just started, and our main channel at the Duran as well. All right, take care, everybody. I'm Alex Christoforou. Have a good evening.